was it like the day I got sentenced to 10 years in a Florida State female prison? I was released a few years ago after almost a decade in prison, and here is what it was like the day the judge told me that I was going to prison for 120 months, or better known as 10 years. Now, I spent almost 2 years in the county jail fighting my case, and I had a paid attorney, okay? He got paid a pretty hefty amount. It was almost like 20 grand, but my case it was burglary charges. So that was a lot for a second-degree felony. And almost the entire time, because he was a paid attorney and because he kept continuing my case, almost the entire time he was leading me to believe that I was going to get house arrest at the worst or probation at best. And I believe that. I mean, why wouldn't I believe it? During those 2 years, I was pregnant with my first and only child. So that made, the time in the county jail not very great. But I was paying the consequences for my actions. So I understood it. But had my attorney told me what was really going on, I would have taken it a little bit better. Now, the first offer for me was 10 years. Fast forward to almost 2 years later. I get up that morning, I go to court. When you get up the morning that you're going to go to court, you most of the time know if your case is going to get continued, and they will continue your case every single month. What they'll do is they'll say they need more time to investigate, they need more time to negotiate, and either the state side or the defense side, which was my side, will continue to ask the judge for a continuance. And you'll just keep going to court every month until you either come to a plea agreement or you go to trial. If you come to a plea agreement, it's the theory is that you both agree on a time and a sentence, and you're going to go in there that day just to sign, say that you did that without anyone coercing you or forcing you, and then you sign and you go about your business. If you go to trial, you guys know what happens when you go to trial. I get up to go to court that morning, and I'm just like, okay, regular court day. I don't think anything's going to happen. But I'm in the holding cell, because you're in a holding cell before you go in the courtroom, right? And as I'm in the holding cell, my attorney, the asshole that he was, because apparently he was not good, but I didn't know that at the time. He comes back there and he's like, ma'am, we've got a problem. And the problem is that they're offering 10 years. They're not coming off of it. And if you don't accept it today, yeah, we're going to trial. They're not continuing the case anymore. So you basically have two choices. Accept the 10 or go to trial. No more after today. They're like digging their heels in the sand. Okay? I'm looking at him like, excuse me, Charles. Did you not tell me that I was going to get house arrest or probation? That's quite a big difference from 10 years in a penitentiary. So he is just like, I'm sorry, there's nothing else I can do. He already got paid, mind you, so he's not invested anymore. And I now have a choice to make. I'm like, Charles, what will happen if I go to trial? Let's just put it out there. Let's just brainstorm. What are the possibilities? And he's like, oh, you're going to get at least 22 years, if not more. And they do this to a lot of people. They threaten you with big numbers that you could very likely get, or sign the paperwork that day so they can get you off their docket and move on to the next person. So Charles is like 22 years or up, because if you take it to trial, they have one piece of evidence that'll sink you. It's the only piece they have, but it's enough to sink you. So you might as well go ahead and take the 10. At this point, I feel like my hands are tied. There's nothing I can do about it, and I have to take the 10. So I walk out there. The judge asks me, hey, were you coerced? Were you forced? Were you bribed? Is this admission of guilt and this agreement to take the 10 all under your consent and your volition, and everything's good? And I'm like, very begrudgingly, yes, I accept it. I signed the paperwork. That's it. That's all. Nothing else. I turn around, get back in my cell, and start crying. Because at this point, I know that my son's first birthday, my son's first tooth, my son's first words, my son's first day of school, and everything else that can happen in 8.5 years, I'm going to miss. After quite a bit of crying and a few hours waiting for everybody else to finish their cases, we go back to the jail, and there I sit and wait until the prison bus comes and gets me to head on over to the Florida State Penitentiary for a 10-year sentence. But the good news is, here I am, 10 years later, thriving, doing well, loving life with my son. And it sucked, but I'm out and I'm good. So anyways, that's what happened. Love y'all. See you later.